even though I asked Hendralisk to wait, and he said yes, he didn't. So I called him a dick. I told him I hope he loses, and we'll see how this plays out. It is currently 1-0 in his favor at the moment, though. This is the Home Story Cup 9 qualifiers for North America, spawning here in the top left corner of the map from Solaris Gaming, one of the newest teams on the block. Padre, the Red Protoss. His opponent in the lower left, from Complexity Sound Blaster. We just had him on 2 nights ago for a show match. It is the blue Zerg player, Hendralisk. Alright, so at the moment, I don't really know what happened in Game 1, but it's another ZVP, and Hendralisk has been a player on fire lately. If you don't know who he is, well, shame on you. Go watch some WCS, go watch some Breaking Out later tonight. He's a really talented player who's had a lot of success recently, and let's not forget, he's still in WCS. So we'll see how poor Padre here can do against him. It's not going to be easy, of course, but again, it's never going to be easy fighting a player like Henry. Now, as Frost, he can play greedy if he likes. This is a map where greed is more common than not. A lot of this has to do with the fact that A, it's 4-player spawn, and B, you've got that Fog of War advantage going for you. But sometimes Protoss players do not give a flip, and gateway aggression is still gateway aggression. Now, it looks like he is, by the looks of things, going to go Nexus first. I only want to say this because he hasn't placed down a Forge. Yeah, so he's probably going to go 17 probe Nexus as fast as he can. And that's perfectly fine. In doing so, that means he'll be able to play a little bit greedy. But if Hendralisk scouts this, then he will certainly respond with his own amount of greed. Going spawning pool first before hatchery, this is becoming more and more common amongst the various matchups. One of the reasons is not only does it help defend against cheese a little bit easier, but if you want to suddenly be aggressive, you can be. Going hatchery second, I think for a while people thought like it was just like the lamest thing you could do. It's so uneconomic, blah 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 blah. But quite frankly, in recent days, again, between Reapers, 3-gate pressure, all these wonderful things, and I say wonderful in quotes, these other players are playing a lot more safe than sorry. Now he does see his Nexus first into a Forge, so I do imagine this will be a 3rd gate or a 3rd hatchery coming down. If he doesn't, I don't know what his plans are. Last time we did cast Hendralisk was for the Acer Team Story Cup yesterday, and he played some weird Swarm Host versus Haswabs, or Proxy Nidasworm Swarm Host, whatever you want to call it. It was a strange game, bottom line. I don't think we're going to see that here again today, but it would certainly be a delight. Anyways, he isn't rushing over to go for that faster 3rd hatchery, so a little bit curious what he plans to do. He's still playing gasless, because if he had started taking gas right now, then he would have been looking to get some speed out, maybe apply a little pressure with some road juice, whatever the case may be. But that doesn't seem to be the case. Oh, hey, shout out to The Real Otto. Oh, man, 2 subs today. We're on fire. 2 subs today. The Real Otto, thank you. Or maybe it's the Re-Lotto. Real Otto, thank you very much for your subscription, man. I do appreciate it. Enjoy your double part 2, so make sure to abuse our emoticons all over Twitch. We do have 10 awesome emoticons. Actually, a lot of people don't know this. I only just found out that a lot of people don't know this. But in your chat window in the bottom right, I guess, I don't know if this applies to mobile users, you see that little smiley face? If you click that, it actually displays all of our emoticons for you. I know I have to update the emoticon guide still, so that it says the new ones, but we got Ace Foo and Ace at What Cost also in the mix. So, again, enjoy. And I want to see, I want to see people spamming them. Anyways, to answer one last question before we get too far into this, there are no betting pools currently open for this match because we did not join in on the first game. I do not run bets when we join in halfway through a series. I think it's a little, quite frankly, lame to do it like that and not nearly as fun. But Padre off to a pretty decent start so far. Puts one more pylon down, he'll be my favorite Protoss to connect that base. But at the moment, there's nothing Hendralisk can really do. In fact, Zerglings are going to be kept alive. Oftentimes, those are like AFK lings, and Zerg players will lose them to that first Zealot that pops out. But he did eventually take that 3rd base, so not looking too bad. Gas is finally being taken. The gasless style of play is a bit odd to look at versus Protoss, but it is the little bit greedier way to handle it. Now, we do have a Stargate opener. I don't know if Hendralisk is going to scout this or not, because it's way tucked in the back of the base, but even if he doesn't, he's the type of player to go for Paranoia Spore Crawlers anyways. And since this is the North America qualifiers, if we're going to be quite frank, it'll probably be an Oracle first out of Padre. And I think Oracle first versus Zerg is not so good. Although yesterday, again, Haswab's kind of changed my opinion on that. As we saw him get about, I want to say upwards of like 20 kills on that Oracle. Doesn't happen often though is the problem, and it takes a lot of good control and dedication. I do personally like Phoenix's best, but we are going to see the Oracle come out of Padre, and we'll see how well this can do. We don't have Paranoia Spore Crawlers coming down, and again I call them Paranoia Spore Crawlers because often players will do it without scouting information, but there's Queens. This Oracle might kill a couple drones. Typically, again, the magic number, you'll see about 6 or 7 if done correctly, and it should get out alive. If this Oracle dies, this is, even if you killed 20 drones, oh, I guess not 20, but if you kill like 10 drones and this Oracle dies, not worth making this Oracle in the first place. The Void Ray follow-up to this, being made out of Padre as well. This is kind of in anticipation of a Roach counterattack, of Roaches being on the way, or Zerglings, anything really. It doesn't matter, because nothing can shoot up in the early game. And a Zerg player is not going to be having Hydralisks around the 8-minute mark. Not unless it was like one weird 1-base 2 Hydralisk build or something to that crazy extent. But anyways, Oracle's going to get about 6 kills, 7 kills, and get it back on out of here. So not a bad start here for this Oracle. Big thing too though is it drove the workers off of gas. Hendralisk did not take any gases in his main, and he has not replaced them here in the natural. And I don't think this was on purpose, of course, just a little bit of an accident having pulled everything. He'll probably realize as he goes to make Roaches or make Hydralisks. He does have some new gases down here, but this is going to be very unfortunate if you can't get those gases resaturated. You got 3 bases but 2 gases, Hendralisk. Come on, man. Come on. Oh man, you guys in chat. I love those emoticon spams. That delay though. Anyways, we do have him pushing across the map, and that 4th base being taken at the same time. For Padre though, he's actually throwing down a 2nd Stargate. This is a little bit interesting. So the first Void Ray is going to kill an Overlord or 2, but it's not going to be able to stop this army coming its way. The 3rd base is actually pretty well guarded, but there's no Sim City to complete the cannons. A Force Field or 2 does go down, but the Roaches will be able to shoot over top of that. Seeing that there's too much there, he says, screw it, let's go to the natural instead. If he pushes in here, there's currently nothing on the wall, but a Sentry's warped in at the last possible second. Again, the Void Ray, it's never going to be opposed, but it will eventually kill everything. Padre does get surrounded despite those Force Fields being looking pretty good, but the cost of the Sentry is going to mean that this 3rd base becomes exposed once again, and while the Void Rays or the Void Ray rather, is absolutely annihilating the Roach count, it's not worth losing all your Sentries for. Now, Hendralisk doesn't come out ahead cost effectively, technically. We'll get the resources lost, but look what he's going for behind this. Dirty, dirty play. 4 bases, Swarm Hosts, Hydralisks, ranged weapon upgrades. He's going to have a lot of everything he needs to really just bully through Padre. And for Padre, you know, he's producing 2 Void Rays at a time. This isn't a terrible idea. Once upon a time, and I really want to say like once upon a time, like I'm telling a story, a fairy tale, if you will, we used to see Mass Void Ray. It was something that we'd watch like players like Idra rage quit over, right? If you guys don't remember, Estrella was one of the first games we cast where that instance happened, and that was at the start of Heart of the Swarm. Not a lot's changed though. The Hydralisk DPS is a little bit better, so they can contend with Void Rays better than they could before. But the thing for Void Rays is, guys, they've got an incredibly fast attack, regardless of what they're shooting. Even though they might not deal bonus damage to the Hydralisks, they're still attacking every 0.5 seconds. So if he's on a fairly even keel of an account, if he's got some Force Fields mixed in and a Mothership Core with Time Warp / Overcharge, he can deal with those. And if the Hydralisks fall, the Swarm Host will shortly after as well. But a 3rd Stargate coming down, he's really looking to lay it on thick, to the point where I would almost call this a bit cheesy, because right now he's got no detection. So while he could make an Oracle, I suppose, but there's no Robo, there's not going to be Observers coming out. He's he's actually going to have a hard time dealing with the Swarm Host just based on the fact that he won't be able to see them. Hendralisk coming across the map though with a fairly decent army composition. Again, there's a lot of Zealots here. These aren't going to fare well versus the Hydralisks. Neither will the Void Rays, but God, that's a lot of Void Rays. And the sooner Hendralisk sees this, the better it's going to be. Even though Hydralisk is going to be the nice thing to get, I almost want to see Pathogen Glands start up here. If there's one thing that's really good at shutting Void Rays down, it's a fungal growth. They do group up pretty notoriously badly and get hit pretty hard by it. At least the Infested Terran's usually underneath it. Either way, Hendralisk is looking to start sieging up here in a moment's time. He does have Enduring Locust already complete, and there's still no detection available for poor Padre. So even though he might see the Locust, and he might kill the Locust with the Void Rays, because it's such a low count, he doesn't have any detection. This is so infuriating to watch. 3 Void Rays at a time, but nothing for them to shoot. Alright, Hendralisk has to be careful. Oh, he can't throw away these units. He's going to need every little bit of buffer he can. Force Fields are going to cut off a lot of these Locusts initially, but it's also going to keep the Zealots back. The Hydralisks are going to focus down on the raw units, I fear. And despite the fact that we got a couple Queens here on the front lines, these Void Rays do not want to go down. Now he's going to actually kill all of these. Tries to micro back one of the low Void Rays. Queen Transfuse is going to go off to keep this alive a little bit longer, but the Swarmers are retreated upon immediately. These Overlords, oh boy, everything here in the front lines dies to Void Rays. He does kill a lot of the Zealots, worth noting while this happens, but he's got no real answer to the Void Rays at the moment. 13 more Hydralisks are on the way, and perhaps this time he'll be a little more cautious with the way he uses them. I kind of wish Padre was able to set up some pylons down here to the south too. Some run-bys you've noticed from down here or way over here would be a good way to deal with Hendralisk. A lot of the times when you guys watch the pro players do anything to deal with swarm hosts, it's oftentimes getting around them, going over them, having warp prisms just shuttle across the map, having pylons proxied. Because the thing with swarm hosts and hydralisks are these are not fast units. They cannot respond quickly the same way Zerglings can. Like if you've got a big warp in of 12 Zealots in the main, none of these are coming back home before that layer dies. None of these are getting back there before the infestation pit goes down. But we got Storm on the way and still no sign of Colossus. This is okay though, the Void Ray count's still pretty damn high. Currently it's 25 Hydralisks versus 11 Void Rays. I think the Void Rays take this fight. As long as the Zealots are there to buffer, they do have charge and they're going to get involved on top of the Hydralisks. The hits at the perfect time when there are no Locusts out. But the problem is he can't engage without the Zealots, and now he's forced back, rather, once again. 10 more Hydralisks on the way. He's even being hit from the left side. This is looking worse and worse for poor Padre. If he had some form of AoE out right now, this would be a lot better. But, you know, I was talking about proxies. He ends up just walking these Zealots across the map. And while he's going to kill the base, the drones were pulled off of it. So the worker count, the worker loss, somewhat minimized. And, yeah, even the Zealot's going to go down. But that's okay. Hendralisk has a fourth. Losing that third, no sweat off his back. We do have some Spine Cars coming down as well. But now there's finally detection. Now, these Swarm hosts are in grave danger. For just 1 second, he doesn't look. And he loses almost every single Swarm host. He's got about 5 left remaining. But that was a count of upwards of 13 before. This is really unfortunate. It just took 1 second of being distracted down here in the lower right. And it was the perfect opportunity for Padre to move in. Protons today are really good at capitalizing the situations, but not army composition. Still insisting on going pure Void Ray versus Hydralisks. Again, you need the charge lots underneath this to make it the most effective that you possibly can. Because Zealots, if they can connect to the Hydralisks, they tear them to shreds. They've got enough HP, they soak the hits, and the Void Rays can deal damage from afar. But there's just not a lot is the problem. We do finally have storms, but Templar of course warped in, can't storm immediately. He's gonna have to wait a little bit of time. And a very hard question is going to have to be asked. Do you storm the Hydralisks or do you storm the Locust Waves? Because you have to push through both regardless. But the Templar coming down, they throw feedbacks on top of the Queen, so no transfuses available. Lots of Void Rays are here on the front lines, while Prismatic Alignment is not hitting anything here for extra damage. It's still hitting pretty damn hard. However, the surround is just a little too much and sent packing. Padre goes back home with 10 Void Rays remaining. Still not a great spot to be in. If he had waited for storms instead of feedbacks, I think that would have gone a little bit better for him. Blanketing storms on top of locusts, on top of swarm hosts, but finds a way to catch a couple more Hydralisks out of position. Takes a base here in the top right too. Hendralisk had just scouted that and did not see it. Or no, he didn't actually scout it. I thought he did. He is scouting around at the moment though. This base is about to fall though if he's not careful. He's focusing so much here on the left side, but the locusts are just rallied up here to the top right. So the third base is going to eventually get knocked down. But we get up again. I'm never gonna keep us down again. Okay. Keep karaoke for another day. Still looking to push in here with the Void Rays. It's really unfortunate because a lot of what's happening is there's just too many Hydralisks. There's too many Queens. 13 Void Rays versus 26 Hydralisks even they can sort of fight with, but not versus 39. Not with Spore Crawlers and not with Queens in the mix as well. So say, you know what, I can't fight the army. Let's once again go around it. He's going to focus everything down here so damn fast. And if it comes down to a base race, quite frankly, I think Padre might actually win that fight. He can't fight the army head on, and he knows it. But the Hydralisks are starting to filter in away from the Swarm Host, and this is the best possible engagement. But goes for a base snipe, takes it off, heads back home. Still has not lost his top right base, but he's going to lose this new one coming in. Needs to cancel this Nexus. This is 400 minerals he cannot afford to lose. Oh, that's going to sting. But that was a really nice move of the Void Rays. I like that a lot. One thing I would have loved to have seen further is if he had segmented 4 off towards the natural and perhaps prismatically aligned focus down that hatchery as well. But again, he can't fight this army head on and he knows it. If there were no Swarm Hosts, the Zealots and the Void Ray composition is fantastic versus Roach Hydra, but it's not Roach Hydra. And that's what really hurts here. He's trying to make this work and he's really insisting on still investing into it. Quite frankly, for Padre, I'm kind of questioning like why he doesn't make a couple of Phoenix at this point. I know that sounds a little bit silly to those who have never tried this, but Phoenix versus Hydralisks are actually really good, and if they're busy shooting the Phoenixes, they're not shooting your Void Rays. So there's a lot of like little subtle things that could go slightly differently for Padre's army composition, but I think sticking on straight Void Rays is not going to cut it. Charge on Archon mixed in even would be a little bit better as well, but of course he's looking towards Storms, not Archons. Still locked into 3 bases, and he's been slowly bleeding out while this has been going on too. And, you know, we're talking a lot about Padre, and I don't want to be overcritical for him, because for Hendralisk, if Hendralisk would make one friggin' Infestor, if he would have one Fungal Growth, all these Void Rays would absolutely die. But Storm's going to go down on top of the Swarm Host, predicting Locust spawns. Unfortunately, they do hit just a little bit too early, and a lot of the Storms miss the Hydralisks, so unable to use those for the fight. The Hydralisks get a big surround on the Void Rays, and they are starting to crumble. And as this army goes down, so will Padre. Good game, good luck, and well played is going to be called. Hendralisk will advance to round 3 in the Home Story Cup 9.